Hi guys, welcome back. In some of my early videos, I mentioned a forum where I used to go to get help and support when I was going through the fight. FedSoup's Federal Employees You Be the Judge. I haven't been out there in a little while, and when I went to visit the other day, I discovered all the forums were gone. I found a discussion about why on Reddit, and there are a few prevailing theories. I tend to align with people who believe the agency shut it down. Maybe not directly, but by curtailing the activities of their EEO and HR professionals that were there offering help to employees. That made sense to me because that seemed to be where it was headed when I left, and I had a personal experience there that makes me even more sure that something like that might have happened. We employees realize that as we go through this fight, we have to be really careful about what we say and post online. So whenever I shared my story online, I modified some of the details of what I shared. I'll talk about the specifics of those modifications in just a little bit. Now, modifying my story was the smart thing to do, but I felt a little guilty about it because I wasn't being transparent with these people who were helping me. After I won, and it was safe for me to talk about it, I came clean with the group. I told them my real story and told them that the reason I'd made those modifications was because I was afraid my agency might be watching, and if they were, I didn't want them to be able to figure out who I was. Most of the members understood that, but this one guy, ironically the guy who'd probably helped me the most, came completely unglued. Now that guy had always posted under what looked like a real name, but I always assumed it wasn't his real name. I thought it was from a movie or something. But when he came unglued, I had to wonder, who is this guy? So I Googled his name, and because it was a fairly common name, I added EEO to kind of narrow down the results. And I found him. He worked in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at NASA headquarters. Freaking NASA headquarters. I didn't know he was working for NASA when I was taking his advice. And that's a good thing because if I had known that, I probably would have gotten paranoid and run for the hills. Now the point of this story is to let you guys know 100% that the EEO and HR professionals absolutely visit the same forums that we do. And I have 3 tips to share. Tip 1. Skip the unnecessary details. Most of what I shared in the forums about my case was pretty generic. I talked about my disability instead of my IBSD, and I talked about my agency instead of NASA. But there are also plenty of times when I had to share specific bits of my story to be able to get the kind of help that I needed. When I had to do that sort of thing, I created all these little smoke screens with details. For instance, I referred to my she/her boss as a he/him. Just didn't seem smart to share a bunch of details that had nothing to do with the question I was asking. No, I want to be clear about something. I do not believe that NASA guy went to that forum specifically looking for me. But he was there. And if I had shared all the specific little details of my story, he might have recognized me. We don't owe anybody online all the details of our case. Tip 2. Set boundaries around your data. In the process of documenting our case, we have to do things like forwarding emails and sending ourselves copies of policy documents. Whatever email address you use to send those documents to, your employer will probably be able to get access and discovery. So to do that, you want to open a brand new email account that you only use for documentation and correspondence associated with your EEOC case. Be sure that you never log into that account from work and you don't link it to your social media or other personal email accounts. When you're naming this account, don't forget that you're going to be using this to correspond with all the people involved in your case. And I wanted to share that because when I was going through the process, I actually did have some accounts with my boss's name and the number 666. Tip 3. Keep your devices off their network. When we're on their network, they can access all our personal files. Messages, emails, call logs, photographs, recordings. They can track our location, monitor our browser history, and do a lot of other scary things. Before I filed my EEOC claim, I never thought twice about logging into NASA's network with my phone. All I knew about it was that if I did it, I could get my work emails and my personal messages on one device, and I didn't have to carry 2 phones everywhere I went. But when I realized that I couldn't trust NASA anymore, I had to stop logging into their network. And as soon as I could swing it, I upgraded my personal phone, changed my number, and never logged into the NASA network with it again. Now, a lot of people think that they can log into their employer's network and still have their privacy by doing things like clearing caches, deleting files, or even factory resetting your phone. When we're on their network, using their router and their firewall. They know every move we make, and you can be sure they've recorded it all on their end. So deleting data from our devices won't really help. If we want to win our case, it's a good idea to take advantage of all the online resources that are out there to help us. But when we're out there getting help, we also have to protect our privacy and our case. Fight smart. That's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care and hang in. Fight smart.